You know what? This is what I showed. Like it's called pseudomorph, and it's called it's like testings from crystal that they tried to what is it called again? Like do test with crystal under microscope to see how it changed to something else, and with heat and pressure. So I'll just read you what pseudomorph is from minerals. It's always minerals because it's from the ground.
And it does say in the Bible that God melted the elements with fervent heat. The elements. These are the elements, guys.
Yeah. So a pseudomorph in the minerals, it's a compound that appears like atypical, like crystal system, just resulting from a substitution process at which the appearance and dimension remain constant, but the original minerals is replaced by another. So you can have like the same thing. It looks exactly the same outside, but inside it's a different substance. That's maybe how geode like forms. Looks like a rock, but inside it's all crystal.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then there's more like substitution. This is what we see like in the bricks.
Metamorphic rock. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it could be parts of it, because metamorphic rocks is just a mix of all of these. But this is just it's pseudomorph. It's not about the rocks. It's more about like the crystalline structures. Not the total. Right. There's no mention of like rocks in there, just crystal structures.
I got you. We're on a microscopic level.
Yeah, because this is what controls everything.
Right.
It's the crystalline structures and everything.
And no, I have not heard that the earthquakes increased around Mount St. Helens, and that is one of the places we're planning on seeing. So hopefully I don't get swallowed up by an earthquake, a melted building. Yeah. I'm going either way. I don't care. We're going.
Yeah. So in this substitution or infiltration, because it can be like a part or the total, the pseudomorph is one mineral or another material is replaced by another, and we see that a lot in what we showed you, from bricks to rocks and everything. Yeah. So you see like the original shape of the mineral remains unchanged, but the color, hardness, and other properties change, replacing the mineral. And here, this is really something that they just added, because they replace like the wood by silica, but here they thought it's only minerals that are affected, but wood is not a mineral, as I know. But maybe what is in the bark of the wood, like crystal sand or parts of it, could be affected and make it change, because I will show you later that only a small particle can become something else and change the whole structure of a rock or something else.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is some science right here.
Yeah, because people are like us. We can see it just from watching like pictures, and can see like the change of thing. It's not normal, and some people don't see it. So maybe they need like more
evidence.
But more not schooling, but things from. Oh man, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay. I know you didn't get much sleep. But, we have to delve into this and get onto the molecular structure, because that's what's changing first throughout the whole thing, with the heat and the pressure.
Because the smaller the crystalline, this is the first that will be affected, even if it's inside of something else.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's smaller grain, and I will mention it later. But you can see like the variation of infiltration. It's called. Is it? No, this is not what I just wanted to bring up what it is.
Review it, yes.
Here, there's paramorph. It's all they all have these names for probably the same thing, but this is the mineral that change on the molecular level only. Not totally, but just this is called it changed all the structure inside. Again, like I said in the beginning, the mineral looks identical to the original, but the inside is changed, to something else. And there's the epimorph. This is what really interesting, because here we call it in Meltology rock curtain, but here in the incrustation pseudomorph it's called epimorph, because it's a process which a mineral is coated by another, and in case the mineral in case dissolves, and sometimes the minerals in case remains intact and retain the shape of the original, like we see if we break a rock that looks and inside is a brick.
Yes.
This has been coated by this type of thing.
Keros knocks off a lot of that coating stuff.
Yes, and they say alternatively another mineral may fill the space that this one was, so it can change totally to something new, and this is how,
like how we see the mortar change to crystal quartz.
Exactly, that's how you get all your crystal formations.
Exactly.
And they talk about how they use this in other fields like paleontology, biology, philosophy, and archaeology. Pseudomorph, accumulate on surface of metals and change like the metal. But this is just the introduction of pseudomorph, because the most interesting is the polymorphs. They call it polymorph in science because there's pseudomorph and polymorph. Again, just different structure, those of the same thing, that we have simplified all these scientifically thing to our own not explanation, but what we saw in the
description
picture.
of what we're seeing. Yeah, but it's on a larger scale.
Yes.
They're talking about microscopic scale, what's happening, and we're seeing it happen on the larger scale with the X Factor event.
Yeah. And this polymorph is described the existence of solid material in more than one form, always in crystalline structure. And this is how crystals are made and everything, again. And they use it to do everything. Like when I don't know if you ever looked at the show Forge and Fire, they do like weapons and stuff. Sometimes they have like powder metal, and then you melt that, it's all crystallized metal, and then you melt it to become one solid state,
This reminds me of monatomic gold.
Yes, exactly. But it's in reverse. The modern atomic gold, it's in reverse form, You want the small particle instead of the big one. Yes.
Yeah.
So
again, through heat and pressure too.
Exactly. And you will see that this is the way to do it, because not now they just talked about how this phenomenon was discovered in the 1800s again,
Of course.
So they just looked at crystallized formation under microscope and applied like acid, applied heat, applied different type of structures, and to change to see it how it changed. And now they have tried it with crystal from the caffeine and other stuff, but that's not what we're into here. I'll go into this other stuff, polyforms and metals. And here they say the condition, the ambient condition, you have the perfect form, but if it change, you will have a different kind of form just by changing the air.
Changing the air, yeah.
The heat just changed 1.1 degrees, and you have something different.
Do you remember when we were talking about how we'll see a wall and part of the wall will have melted brick in it and another part won't? Maybe it was like that heat wave. You know, when you see the wave of heat down on your street when the street's all wavy, like that's the reason it's wavy is because the heat is at different levels of temperature and it's like rising and cooling and rising and cooling, and it's like a wave because that's why you're seeing it. So that could go through the wall as it's melting, and that's what's happened, that temperature, that little bit of coolness in that one spot over the heat.
Yes. These and here they talk about the minerals that most of them do this polymorphism. You know, that calcite, calcium. This is what we call mortar here.
Mm-hmm.
And the most famous example is the carbon, the graphite, because carbon is graphite, and the diamond. Diamond is carbon too. So from the carbon, this is like the grain of it. It can become a diamond with heat and pressure. And this is, and the black, no, they talk about this black salt, Jen. Maybe this is what you see, like
coming down the sides of the walls.
Gentle heating of the slurry becomes the black stuff and then converts to red form, you know, like bricks. This is how they made bricks. Probably this is the scientific explanation of bricks when you eat it, and that's why it become red, because this stuff, the carbon, the calcite, all this stuff inside.
Crystal Pyramid is asking, could this apply to glaciers that look like melted buildings?
Well, probably. I don't know.
It's usually under heat that this is happening. That would be the opposite, being like under a freezing condition of some sort. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that the freezing came after the X Factor event.
Yeah, but I think maybe she's saying that these are like crystalline structure. I don't know what kind of snow these are made of, you know, but maybe they have like a crystalline structure in them, not to be melting or something. I don't know.
Maybe. It's hard to say on that one.
Yeah, I've never touched one, so I don't know.
I find the blue ice really interesting because I think the firmament is made of some kind of blue ice.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why the sky's blue.
Yeah. So I'll just go down because this how they use it in pharmaceutical stuff, you know, making the crystals. What else was it in there? So this is the most common form that these things take when eaten, these polymorphs, hexagonal. And remember that, because it will all come. I will show you.
Yeah, so a hexagonal is the most common form that these crystals take when they're changing, when they're polymorphing, right?
Yes.
So we got to keep that in mind, guys, for what he's going to bring up here in a little bit.
What was the?
Because we're going to take this from a microscopic level to a macroscopic level, where we're looking at the melted buildings.
Yes. So this is the theory in terms of thermodynamics. We all know that what thermo, it's heat, energy, everything. Mm-hmm. There's two types of polymorphic behavior. There's a monotropic, there's something. And there's various polymorph against temperature. You know, do not cross before all polymorphs melt. You know, there's the cross line. There's a line before something melt and something that doesn't. And this can be applied. And when they say it's beyond and not through the melting point, but below the melting point, it's
just below it.
Yeah, you cannot just irreversible because the crystal structure has changed. But if you go beyond the melting point, you can bring it back. This is what they found. But in the studies, they found that, like I said, only a gust of wind or a change of temperature can change the crystal totally to a different point, you know. So this is...
Who knows what's involved in this X Factor event? There could have been extreme wind, extreme heat, water, all kinds of things going on.
Yes. And they, you see that they try to convert the two polymorphs one to another just by eating and cooling and physical contact with the lower energy polymorph. This is what you call when you stack bricks. This is what it does. Maybe the brick that is beside it has a lower energy polymorph and it doesn't get affected as much as the other one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another thing that to read and to study even more, because
Temperature dictates the state of matter.
yes, because I have another like page I've downloaded from a real, not just Wikipedia, just fast information, but a real scientific study. It's about like 30 pages. I didn't go through it all. It's just too much theory and everything. But in big, this is what is going on. And this one again, really interesting. Again with the polymorph, but these are called disappearing polymorphs. Yes, because they're not disappear, but it's because they're not there. They are changed to something else.
Exactly.
Like we see in the bricks.
And the mortar was there, the brick was there, and now we could see it's turned to rock, or what they call quartz crystal now, or rose quartz crystal, which I think is more mortar mixed in with and less carbon-14, where you have that pinkish look, and they call it rose quartz crystal.
Yeah, exactly. And this phenomena, disappearing polymorph, or they call it perverse polymorph, describe this phenomena as seemingly stable crystalline structure is suddenly unable to be produced because it has changed into another different crystal structure that wasn't there before, you know. This is what they found out during and sometimes the transformation is extremely hard and impractical to reverse, because like it said, it became something totally different, and even something like monatomic gold, you know. It's the best what's what they call them.
Yeah, because you can't make monatomic gold go back to a solid piece.
No, because it's the purest form, you know. That's how they sometimes the polymorph became so pure that you cannot change it anymore. It's set in there, and this is how you get your diamonds and your crystals. Every type of crystal, you cannot change it to something else because it has set to this stable. Yeah, this is what this stable form, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the hypothesis of this is only contact with a single microscopic seed crystal of the new polymorph can be enough to start a chain reaction, causing the transformation of a much larger mass, you know. Only a microscopic in one brick or something can change the brick totally.
Yep.
Leading to the impression that the original polymorph has disappeared. You know, it's not disappeared, but it changed to another.
And this is how you could go in your backyard and people say, how can this rock in my backyard have been a brick? Well, we're explaining it to you right fucking now.
Yeah, exactly. And these now they talk about in pharmaceutical and computers. But that's not what we're talking about here. Again, they use drugs. And I think that was it for this. Yeah. These polymorph just changing to the original polymorph.
Deb says trans bricks. I love it.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to do a tranny-thon on Rockfin and just go to town, have you guys type in who you want me to transvestigate, and maybe go at it for a few hours or maybe 3 or 4 hours and just hammer away at all that. Because I have so much to say about Mr. T that I've been holding in. And I can't say any of it here on YouTube. I know a lot of people don't like Rockfin. I'm not really in the Rockfin that much. The chats, whatever and stuff. But I think, it would be a good time. It really would. And I could get out a lot of stuff that I've been compiling on people. Politicians, actors, actresses, singers, all of them, even your local newscasters, Good Morning America, all of it. I'm going to expose all these motherfuckers. Anyway, go ahead.
No, this is what this is the thing that I showed previously on a show. Just just wanted to go back and look at it again. So for some people that didn't see it, or it's not it's always good to look at it a couple times to really get it, because
absolutely, because we have new people here that haven't gone back and watched our old stuff. You know what I mean? So we have to review like this and bring people up to speed so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So the new thing that I found like a couple days ago, where should I go? I'll start with where I found it and how I found it, because I was looking for something and I stumbled upon this link. It's called the Echo Horizon. They call this a coincidental catastrophe, but I didn't. This is not what I want to talk about, but it was interesting that they talk about that this Echo Horizon, is trying to comprehend the dramatic rise and fall in the temperatures during the 14th century. So something happened in the 14th century that is not really talked about. But here they talk about the Great Plague that really coincides with what they have found. Like, I don't know where they get these temperatures marking, but what they have found, that they coincide with the Great Plague, that when the 30 or 60% of Europe population died off.
Right. And they're blaming it on a plague, but it seems to be it had something to do with this temperature differential happening throughout the 14th century. Extreme temperature differentials.
Yes, that's what they call it.
So they'll just say, a plague. Everybody died off. I'm not going to tell you that there was some kind of X factor event that may have took place back then.
Yeah. Now they go into these plagues and pandemics. The Echo Horizon, the pandemic started, and there were comets. They talk about the comets going there. So I don't know what caused this heat, but we knew that something happened back then that nobody could explain.
Exactly.
And it goes all about these deaths, about these plagues everywhere, but that's poorly explained away. They eat. They say, probably this comet made the heat.
Blame it on the comet.
Yes. And then, but that's not the thing that brought me here. The thing that brought me here was this place.
Oh my God, Shapu, look at this.
Yes, I will show like better pictures later, but this is an aqueduct. Melted.
It's melted as fuck aqueduct.
And and then I saw this sintering is the process of compacting and forming a solid mass of material by heat and pressure without melting it to the point of liquefaction. So,
boom, baby!
This was interesting.
The heat was melting it, and then the heat got taken away, and it's still holding its form. It didn't melt away into a pool of nothingness. It's still there, and you can still make it out. This is fucking Meltology right here, baby.
Yes, exactly. And it's called sin, Jen.
Uh-huh.
This is probably what caused the thing, but
Sin.
Center. Yeah.
And sin is that people did not adhere to God's judgment. So we, like Shapu says, if you're not living in the right headspace and in the right heart space, and we're not treating each other right and all this stuff, this X factor comes. People call it God's judgment because if you're living in a sinful way, you're going to get hit hard by the X factor. If we were living right and righteous, this X factor comes. God's judgment may not be so bad. There'll be more areas of survival than not, because I think there's a cyclical nature to God's judgment, the X Factor event. I think it has to do with the torus field of our plane and how the plane is set up and works. I think it's kind of like a breathing in and out. And we, as lings of the earth, we're earthlings, lings of the earth. We're connected to the earth. Our energy is important here. We're co-creators. We could create disaster or a beautiful heaven on earth. It seems like when we're in the bad headspace, we're creating this disaster. You see what I'm saying, Shapu? This is all his idea on this, and I agree 100%.
Yes. And look, they talk about the readers who discovered this Lucas aqueduct. They don't want to talk about it; just too hot to handle, and are advised to seek.
They don't even want to talk about it because it's too hot to handle, because they have to explain where this heat came from.
Exactly.
And if that's melted, and Sodom and Gomorrah is fucking melted and ashed out, what the fuck's everything else around us?
Yeah.
Boom, baby.
So now we're going to see what is this centering is. So I went to the link of the centering. Is it big enough?
Yes.
Good. So
this is
what
good.
They call sintering or fittage is the process of compacting and forming a solid mass of material by heat and pressure without the melting point of liquefaction. This is what we get. And like I said, with metal, ceramic, and plastic, this is the same type of thing that they use to form these metals and the ceramics, And you can see like a small drawing of what it is like. This is what it's used, and from the heat, it become infused into a bulk, like we see in all of these castles and everything.
Yes, with the huge blocks and the polygonal walls and stuff.
Yes, I'll get to that.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm so excited.
They talk about the atoms fusing and creating one solid piece, because this is what it is. And
Mary, I will definitely put out a lot of notices if I do the rock fin thing. You don't want to miss it. I hear you, girl.
And here, Jen, this is where I found look, clinker module. Clinker module produced by sintering.
Nice.
Yes. So the clinker bricks, I don't know if they know what clinker is, but here the clinker is like in microscopic form. And
that's incredible.
Yes. So the general sensor.
Right, Dana. Good research, Shapu, Dana says.
Oh, thank you.
On point, guys, and you ain't even seen anything yet. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the melted fucking building is what it is.
I know I've seen like.
What's up, Tatarian Meltdown? You may have to rewind a little bit. You came in at a good time. You catch up a little bit. We're schooling everybody right now on polymorphs and different heat differentials and pressure on a microscopic scale.
And there's a lot of interesting thing in here that can relate to what we already covered, but we had the explanation because we saw it, but now we have the explanation because people made it in the lab, and something that
they can reproduce the X factor event in the lab, just like we can melt a brick. They're reproducing this stuff on a microscopic level.
Yes.
See, they have to explain what melted that bridge, that aqueduct. They can't do it. And that the fact that it looks like that, and they even left it standing, I can't even believe it, And you got to show us more. You have other pictures of that aqueduct, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're really good. We got to show those. They even said it's too hot to touch. They don't even want to go near it. It's like
Nope.
it's like Puma Punku. No, we don't want to talk about that. Because you can't. Because fucking geologists and fucking archaeologists are going to smash right into each other. Knock each other out.
So plastics in the ring, that's not what we want. Liquid phase, that's not what we want. And then you got this, we always talk about the current and electricity.
Yeah, because Tesla was using polyphase current stuff at the fair. It was called polyphase.
And this is electric current assisted sintering.
Yep.
So they use electricity to create this sintering that we call like melting of the bricks.
Mm-hmm.
So they use electricity, like we always say that's how it happened.
Yeah, because the motherboard fried. It was an electrical current. The heat's coming up from the bottom, guys. It was like a plasma discharge of some sort.
Yeah. So this guy happened like use direct current in a vacuum, and this guy has electricity with pressure to make some other type of thing. And this guy tried with another like big heat and with the conductivity passing through it. They tried a lot of things. This one with the other capacitors, with alternating currents, tried different thing, and it's always resulted the same thing.
This spark plasma thing looks interesting.
Yes, that's what
some of the arcing that we see, where the thing's melting from the top and the bottom, but we get that middle centerpiece that's a pocket of survival.
Yes. One other of the technologies most well known is resistance sintering. It's called hot pressing, and spark plasma sintering.
Mm-hmm.
And the plasma, we always talk about this plasma event or something. Yeah. And it does this because this spark plasma create pressure and an electric field at the same time,
And it's going to have heat no matter what, because this is an electric sparking thing here. It's heat like 5,000 degrees kind of heat instant.
Exactly. And even only pressure creates heat because you have
friction.
Pressure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And now they talk about they use all these currents and plasma. But that's
Meltology 101, guys. Y'all in school right now. You better be taking notes.
Yeah, because we always talk about these things, but we never like explain it. But this explains everything. And they have even microwave sintering.
So they seem to be giving us the answers, but they're giving us the answers on a microscopic scale, and we have to take it and scale it up. Is what we're doing.
Yes, because this is the only way we can have enough heat and enough electricity to change it. It's only in the microscopic level, because it would be too much in a big level, bigger,
right.
Like, because
maybe that's what they're doing with CERN or something.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Smashing particles together, if that's what they're really doing, but I don't know.
So this is where it gets interesting with the densification, vitrification, and grain growth. This is
boom, baby. Let's do it.
The grain growth.
You had me at vitrification.
Yes. So this sintering process that they use is to control both the densification and grain growth, and I'll get to the grain growth after this, because it's really interesting, and it explains a lot of things too. So depending on the increased grain size, there's many properties that could affect everything, like the density, the smaller the grain size. Because the smaller the grain size, it's like I said before, it will be the first one to get excited by these high temperatures,
Yep.
And then this grain growth can naturally occur during sintering, and the process, they have to control this process of grain growth. Jen, when you talked about these the new bricks, when they add something into the bricks,
Yeah.
like a powder or something. But I
Right.
found out that this powder is to prevent this grain growth.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because otherwise it will make probably like clinker bricks or turn into a rock if you don't put this. But that's why maybe they say that they have like better bricks with certain kind of soil that they get, but probably in this soil they have this kind of powder already in the soil. They just don't know.
Mm.
Then this is the identification of the capillary pressure. Capillary just means on top of the structure.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have only the densification of the contour of it, like we say a rock curtain or something that just made like a cover, not a cover, but a layer on top of something.
Right. Right. Yeah. And we see that a lot,
Yes.
especially in Petra. You could see the thin layer left there of the exterior molding. The rest of it's gone, but just you can see a thin layer. Like if you just poke through it, you can see the brick underneath of it.
Yes. And with this capillary pressure, that the pressure that's on top, this is on top, like when you stack bricks, this is a capillary pressure because all the bricks press on top of each other.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Is that what we're seeing when they smush down on top of each other and they get compacted, like with the brick
Yes,
layers?
exactly. Look, this particle undergo grain growth and grain changes occurs. Shrinkage will result when the liquid slips between the particles and increase pressure at points of contact, making the material move away from the contact area, forcing particle centers to draw near each other. So
Mm-hmm.
what it's saying in here is that the pressure from the other bricks can make it squish and
Mm-hmm.
and slips. And sometimes we see it like a brick will slip between others.
Yep,
And
we
this
sure do.
and this is what he's saying here, but in the microscopic level. And this liquid phase, because it's not really liquid, but it's because it's melting, involve a fine grained solid.
You're right, Deb. They don't have to use as much heat with these smaller particles. They're not using the temperatures that we would be thinking on the macro scale that we're talking about. This is microscopic. Good point. I'm glad you brought that out.
And here they say that to create these needed capillary pressures proportional to the diameter of the thing and the liquid concentration, because everything has like moisture in it. This is what because they use words that they will call the liquid, and it's just moisture. Moisture is just liquid. So to create this capillary pressure, this have to have all of this, like they have to be like this liquid.
Well, too, is that, I mean, the buildings, when they're melting, they had water in them.
Yes, too. And if there's no water or anything, the process is ceased. Because it's stopped right away once there's no more.
So we have so many different factors happening during this X Factor event. That's why we see so many different types of material around the plane now.
Yes.
And these different levels of heat damage and everything like that. It's just so fascinating, Chippo.
Just depending on the moisture in the air and everything can change.
And what could have been moisture was in the building when it was melting even, and all this stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And probably, Jen, because the bottom part are always more mangled because they have the more moisture there, because just like when you go into your basement, there's more moisture down there than on the surface.
Yeah, Dana, I always thought too, like I was saying about this arcing thing or something. We always say the heat came from the bottom, but in a lot of locations we see melting at the top and the bottom, and with sections in the middle and various locations that are pockets of survival. And I think this is the explanation we were looking for that.
Yeah. And here they say like the vitrification rate depends on the pore size, like the porousness of the material.
Mm-hmm.
So probably the more porous will be more viscosity because there's more like moisture created in these pores.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they say, that the pressure dependence densification control the process, because at higher temperatures the viscosity decrease, they say, but increase the liquid content. So it's create the same thing even at high temperature, you know. And therefore, when change the composition and processing are made, it will affect the vitrification process. That's why we can see some that are vitrified and some that are not. It's just depends on the tension and the composition of the material already there.
Yeah, and I think that there are a lot of pockets of survival within the mountains themselves, and we're going to get to that here in the show a little bit later. When you're like looking at Hawaii or looking at, say, Mount Shasta or the Swiss Alps or whatever, you just see jagged mountains. But I think that within those mountains are the pockets of survival. You can't see them anymore on the outside, but they're in there because the melt, it didn't get to the very center parts or the very innards of the building, but the outside and the other stuff all melted, and it looks like just jagged mountains now.
Yeah.
I heard back in the day when I used to do research about Mount Shasta that there was a whole city inside Mount Shasta.
Yes, I heard that too. But we know we'll see that mostly all of these mountains have something. Now we call it mines, but it probably were rooms and chambers and an old building, you know.
Yeah, with things in them, artifacts, gold, silver. Yes, we get gold and silver mines under churches and abbeys and stuff.
Yes.
It's because they're going down there and getting out the stuff that's in there that melted and utilizing and refurbishing the rooms that are down there. You're calling them cisterns and all this other stuff and mines, which they're not. They're just, it's the building.
Yes. And now they talk about the grain growth. This is the grain boundary. And look, I'll show you. See, like, this is a microscopic.
Well, that looks very familiar, doesn't it?
Yes.
That looks like all the janky walls we see everywhere, all the property line walls and stuff. John Levy's been showing that. It looks like the megalithic polygonal walls you see in Teotihuacan and all this other place.
Yes. And I will show you like a diagram of it changing into it. You know, it's just crazy. So this is what they call grain growth. It's not they just do not have the same orientation of lattice, giving the atom. Okay. A shift position, yes. But what I want to read is the energy that is through the stable state, which is the specimen. This grain growth can be, this is what I want to talk about. The grain growth can be like a normal or abnormal grain growth, you know. Normal grain growth is characterized by uniform growth, just like we see in the Peruvian structures, all really good and like this, like Jen showed, like this,
like tightly fitted polygonal walls and stuff. Yeah.
This is what they call normal grain growth, and there's this abnormal grain growth that I will talk about it, and this is what we call balloon rocks. When we exactly, because you will see that this abnormal grain growth will make something grow bigger than all of the others, and this is what we call
balloon rocking. Yep.
Yes.
And we see it all over these ancient sites and these megalithic structures and stuff as well, guys.
Yes, I will probably look. I'll show you right there an example of. Oh, I think I'll go to the. No, not yet. Sorry.
Take your time. It's all good.
So they go into these numbers, these equations, just to explain what it is. The equilibrium, I think I've covered. The reducing green growth, no. The sistering of catalysts, that's what's caused this sistering, you know.
Uh-huh.
There was, they will say like it decrease the surface, change the surface structure. Any the porousness of the thing can make it different. You know, the pores may collapse due to sintering, you know, like we see in the structures, they collapse and they fall over. They lost the surface to bind, and this is like
And they slide, yeah.
this is irreversible. But they say that the smallest catalyst, this is the smallest particles. Like I said, have the highest possible relative surface to the I reaction of to temperature. You know, because this is the smaller the particle, the greater the reaction they will have. You know?
Right.
So they increase the reactivity of the catalyst, yes. However, these factor also the circumstances under which sistering occurs. Like specific material may also increase the rate of sistering, you know, depending of what soil you add to make like what you want the material. Maybe like we showed like different results.
Yeah, like exterior moldings and stuff like that. Different types of outer moldings and cement moldings and different things like that are going to have a different reaction to it, shape out differently when it's heated and stuff, when it's green growing.
Yeah, that's why maybe when one brick can turn and the other one right beside it is not, because probably has more in it, these type of materials that increase the rate. But on the other hand, there is other materials that the sintering can be reduced, you know. So that's why maybe like these rare earth metals that probably have in certain bricks, you know, they have been shown to reduce this effect. So we have things that may increase and some that may reduce the effect. So we have all these different transitional phase.
Exactly. In some places we see that, like in Pompeii, there's in one wall, you can see 3 different transitions going on.
Yes. And then they go about what is, and these improvements are generally in the form of these stable materials such as silica. This is all the quartz crystal, the carbon. We all know what carbon is. And the alumina, this is like all the light metals that you can find on top of the soil, not deep, but on the top soils. So all these 3 can have an effect on everything. And all these 3, you can find it everywhere, you know.
That's right.
Everything is made about with these 3 elements. Bricks, stones, everything. And here, this is the most interesting thing, is the grain growth. I was talking about the grain growth increase the size of grain in crystallized form again to a material at high temperatures. You know, this is occurs recovery and recrystallization of a grain boundary. The behavior of the grain is analogous to the coarsening of the grain. Like I said, the tighter the grain or the lesser tight grain will change the effect of the growth. And now they talk about how they use this grain growth to create new stuff. Like now the rule of the grain growth, they have look again, use it under the microscope. Such the factors are the temperature, the composition, the lack of crystal in it, the limited development, the physics. This is not that. The grain growth occurs by the movement of grain boundaries. Okay, like water droplets. If just water drops into this effect, it can change the grain growth. The grain growth can be changed, or the order of the the grain growth can be changed.
Yeah,
That's
and
why
there's definitely water involved in
yes,
different places in this X factor.
yes, that's why we can see like different size of these stones in the Peruvian ruins. Like small ones and big ones, but they all are in order, still in order. And the movement, this is the movement and discontinuous of the direction and motion may change suddenly during the abnormal grain growth. So just the gust of wind can change the growth and can make it abnormal. This is what they're saying. And one grain growth may grow into another grain while being consumed from the other side. And we see that a lot in these bricks becoming to stone, because you can see that one part of it's going into the stone, and while the other part of it's still a brick. And this is what they are saying here. And the rate of consumption often increase when the grain is nearly consumed. You see,
Mm-hmm.
if the brick is almost changed, it will probably become like a different thing completely, because the more it becomes to the change, the more sorry, the more change it gets, the more the faster it will change to another form.
Hmm.
And this is, yes, this is interesting too, because they say a curved boundary like arches and thing
Uh-huh.
typically migrates toward its center of curvature. So that's probably why we see
The arches.
we see arches that are filled, because
Right.
yes, because it will not touch the curved boundary, but it will migrate to the center, and to the center and going from it.
Wow.
Yes.
This is good
And,
stuff.
and the driving force, this is how it's the crystal structures is affected by the energy and the heat, depending on the grain size and everything I've already covered. So look, you can look at this, but I'll read the general theory of grain growth. Grain growth behavior include normal, abnormal, and stagnant behavior.
Wow, you're looking at a polygonal wall being formed here,
Yes.
guys.
So you can see here, this is the what is it called again? Where was it? The normal grain growth. This is what they call the normal grain growth. All equal parts, like really consistent. You can see that it becomes from small particles to just like we see these polygonal walls. But this is what they call a normal grain growth.
Huh.
And this is another version of it, because it becomes, look, from one smaller particle, it can become
It
this.
balloons out to that. Yeah. Can you imagine one brick ballooning out into the other brick and then the other brick and becoming one big piece?
Yes. So this is what they call the grain growth. One small particle of grain can become really, really, really big. And now this is the abnormal grain growth, and you can see that all of this, it's normal, 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 and then something happened that there's the abnormal grain growth. And
Oh, look at that. How many times have we seen a brick wall with a big balloon rock in the middle of it?
yes, and that's why
Okay.
I want to bring up this thing. You can see that these bricks are really, really well made, because there's not more these grain growth. But you can see there's one here, there's another one here, and there's like these
I see them.
balloon rocks. Yes, there. Yes.
That's some boom baby stuff right there.
You can see that these bricks were really have probably the substance that did not affect them really well, but you can see that some of them have been affected
Yep. Look
and
at that.
changed to another
This is helping us give a better language to Meltology, guys, to explain this stuff better, to better understand on a molecular structure what's happening here with this heat and pressure during the X Factor event.
Yes, because we have explained it in a simplified form, just but looks like people.
They're talking about the macro, and we're showing them they're showing them the micro. We're bringing it to the macro level.
Yes. So you can see like this grain growth, Imagine if this all bricks, and then there's this that changed completely structure, like I said in the beginning with the pseudomorph and the polymorphism.
Yep.
So
absolutely amazing.
Yes, and there's our factor that hindering this growth, and this is what I was talking. There's additional factors that prevent the boundary movements of the Zinner's pining. I don't even know what this is. They say it's depend on the low and the angle of the grain, So there's so many different things that can change the growing and the changing of the.
And this is why we see so many different levels of heat damage in one location. Even say you got a bridge. And I've seen this many times, like bridges made of brick, but half of it'll be like this balloon rock, and then it goes back into brick again, and then the balloon rock.
Yes. And they have.
Right, Steph, this is next level.
Yes. And then they have found like this grain size may be restricted to much lower value because they have found that this grain growth can be prevented if they add something to the material. And this is what is it here? Yes, it's called a dopant and doping agent that they will add to the material to alter the original electrical or optical properties. The amount of dopant necessary cause to change the typically very low. You don't need much in it, but if you get it, it will change like the electrical effect on the material with this thing. This is what they probably put in bricks now today.
Right.
Yes.
So if there was another X Factor event, those bricks probably wouldn't react that way.
Yes, probably. So these dopants are often used to inhibit grain growth, so not to change into rocks.
Right.
This is
interesting.
Yes, but this is all in microscopic level again. But we see it as above, so below, So
right.
We see it in the macro.
And it says as above, so below, as within, so without.
Yes.
And we're going within these bricks to a molecular level, guys.
Yes, exactly. So this was all the theory for tonight, guys. There's no more theories. So I hope you like these theories. And it's all from Wikipedia, but they all backed from real scientific studies. You can go see all of this. I don't know if I can.
But they're never going to give it to you on a macro level and explain what all this stuff is and that fucking melted aqueduct and everything. Do you have pictures of the melted aqueduct? We can go into some of those. Yes. So we don't get too far off before we get to that.
Yes. I've put it in here. It's called the Lucas Aqueduct in Turkey.
So you guys can look that up. It's the Lucas Aqueduct in Turkey if you want to look it up.
Even if you make searches, Jen, you won't.
Hide it.
I've searched it for 1 hour and I have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 23 pictures.
So they're hiding it.
Yes.
I got you.
But you will find a lot of pictures of the structures that melted around it, but not this one.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you can clearly see that they have not built it like this,
Exactly.
It's all melted to shit.
It's melted as fuck.
And I have like
meltified.
And you see the inside of it, it's all bricks.
Thank you, Dana. Shapu is my official co-host. We made it official last stream.
Yeah.
He's been my co-host for 8 months now, but it's official.
Yeah.
Our first show was back in January on Rockfin with Steve. And
Yes,
we talked
and
about some
Mark.
stuff.
Yes.
Was Mark there too? He was, wasn't he? Yeah. So we talked about some stuff that stream can't go onto YouTube, but yeah, it's on Rockfin, our very first stream.
Again, I have put mine on YouTube and it's still there. So,
Oh, really? It is?
but yes, but I have cut one part of it that we talk about this stuff. So maybe
Well, maybe
that
I'll have to download it from your site and then put it up on my channel. So I can
yes,
put
yes.
the very first one.
Yes.
All right. So you're going to get that picture up, right?
Which one?
The bridge, the melted bridge, the aqueduct.
This is it.
I don't have the screen share yet.
What? Oh, I've been showing all of this.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen nothing yet. I'm sorry. There's nothing
guys.
Steve's doing his thing. He's got a lot of stuff going on right now. He's just kind of, dealing with life, and when he's able to, he'll come back. Right now he's doing Steve, and that's okay. I love him. He's great. He's doing good.
Yes, I'm Steve. I really like the guy.
Yeah.
So you see it?
Yes.
Okay. I was talking about it and I didn't show. So
It's okay. Look at this, guys. Wow.
You can see it.
And you can see how it ballooned out and then it started to go liquid and drip.
It's ballooning here and dripping inside. Like I just said, the arch is not totally rounded, but inside it's going into the middle.
Uh-huh.
It wants to reach the middle part,
And look at the second one in there, the center one. It's just all wow.
Yes.
It's muffed up.
And if it would be longer, this arches would be filled up.
That would be covered too. Yeah, we've seen spots like that are filled in.
Yes. Some are bricked in by people, but some are really filled it for the.
If it looked like this, they would fill it in with brick because they don't want you to see the melt.
Yes, probably. Yeah, and you can see the bottom part; it's all bricks inside.
Look at that, guys. Just look at it. And they admit that this is an aqueduct. This is not some natural formation. They admit it here.
Yes.
They don't talk about it. They don't show it much. Tom Petty knows. They got this thing. They don't talk about it. Somehow they get around it. It's right here. That's a really good picture.
The same one. You can see melted stuff around it. And now they still use it to bring water, I guess.
Even though it's melted and muffed up, they're still fucking using it in some way.
Yes.
Wow. Look
Again,
at it. It's dripping.
That these pictures are not the greatest quality either. It's really hard to find the pictures of this aqueduct.
Is there, maybe we can find somebody who's done boots on the ground, kind of hiking around it or something kind of personal.
I've looked at probably 4 or 5 videos of people going in this area. They don't go there. They go into, like I said, the melted structure that's on top of the hill right here, because there's a big giant city there.
Oh, wow.
Yes. This is the bottom part.
Look at that.
It's all liquefied.
Yeah, you could see what you were just showing, that the polymorph. Polymorph, all right there.
Yes. And here, the inside of it.
Oh, look at that, guys. Look at the brick. Look at it, it's melted.
Yeah, can see all still
see the brick layers under it. Boom, baby.
It's getting covered, but what they call, what we call rock curtain, but they have a scientific name for it.
Look at this. Oh, is this what the melted city?
No, this is the other part of the aqueduct. Look, there's.
Oh my God!
Look at part this. Is still there. Yeah.
Look at the drippiness in them arches up there.
Yes, I wish it was better picture, but
Wow.
just amazing.
Absolutely incredible. I don't know how people can't see what we've been showing this whole time. I just don't know how you can't see it. And if you can see it, you have to ask yourself, what the hell kind of heat caused this? And when did it happen? Because this bridge is probably what historically, I mean, I don't know the narrative on it, but I mean, they could say it's an ancient Roman aqueduct or whatever, but this is X Factor stuff.
Yes, they say it's an ancient Roman aqueduct. And
Look at that drip on that one, on that first arch. Look at it hanging down. Yeah, right there. Look at that. It's solidified mid-melt.
yes, because it wasn't totally liquid.
Exactly. If it went longer, it would have mushed down even more. You may only have low arches, or it could have just melted down into a blob. But it
like
didn't. It's solidified.
Because this is probably from this melting,
Exactly.
This blob there that has no reason to be there.
And this structure is probably pretty sound because it's all fused together. It's all solidified together. It's one big giant piece now.
Yes. What do we call the mountain?
Mm-hmm. Look at that. Oh my gosh. This is just so good. It looks like something from Sodom and Gomorrah, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
It's amazing stuff. I've seen this one again under this.
Just wow.
Look how it melted in the middle and right in the center.
Yeah. Just like that thing said, it would go to the center.
Yes. It start from the center of the rounded part and going into the center of the old.
This is amazing stuff right here.
Yes.
Guys, if you can, share this out everywhere you can, because, this is 101 Meltology right here.
Yes. You can see like the dripping running down this rounded formation.
That is amazing.
And you can still see all the bricks. Just amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The same picture without the tags, but the quality isn't that great. But
after we're done with these pictures here, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get into the other stuff.
I don't know if this one is still part. They say it's the same area, but look at this part here.
Look at that. Look at that transition, guys.
It's melting here. It's
probably extreme heat damage right there, but not extreme enough to get it drippy looking like that other one. Wow.
Yeah, probably.
And like I said, these kind of sites, the more muffed up it is, the more ancient they say it is.
Yes.
They're not ancient. They're the same. This is no older than, anything else that's around us. Like if you go to Old Town Philly or Naples, Italy.
Yeah. And here you can see like getting coral, like porous.
Oh yeah.
Porous. And this ballooning expansion of the structure.
Yep.
And probably being squished out, like they say.
That's right.
This is a good one. Oh, yeah, I've got a good one. I can really zoom in. Nice.
Just wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. And we see this type of effect all over in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, other parts of Turkey and stuff, where it just looks like they say they're mud brick ziggurats. Yes. But no, it's just melted brick is what it is.
Yes, it looks exactly like this. And they say that it's the rain erosion,
Right.
Yeah, the rain has just eroded the top part of it because it became loose with the melting, That's what it did. I'm not saying that erosion is not something, but it's not what they say.
Exactly. Not to be the reason for all this other stuff, though. The extreme They'll be like, oh, extreme weathering did this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is just one part because I don't know where is the rest of it, you know.
But look, go back, go slide it over. There you go. Look at the drippiness under that arch there. Yeah, see it coming down? Yep.
Yes.
And that big blob behind it is just all melted out, whatever that was.
Yeah. So
That's liquefied.
yes. So maybe all of this around it, it's all melted and liquefied.
And that's just what's left. This could be the top of something here.
Yeah, so it could be like the top part of another one that goes down.
Right.
You know, like the one I showed you, where is it? Like this.
Right, exactly.
So we only see this part.
Yes.
Maybe there's all of this, or maybe it's melted too. We don't know because
it's in the melt.
Yes. Just an amazing evidence of melting.
Especially after reading all that you read and seeing this stuff, you know, where you see regular brick and then you see this janky, weird rock and then you see more brick, and this explains what's going on here.
Yes, yes.
Look at how drippy that is underneath those arches. It's just crazy. Wow.
It wants to fill it up.
Yep.
So, because it's the material, it's not only dripping, it's expanding and changing and growing.
Yep. Did you ever put butter in a frying pan, a stick of butter, and you watch the bottom of it bubble out and expand out as the butter's pressing down on itself and getting closer to the frying pan? This is what we're seeing happen here.
Yes. Yes. Did you like my video I made with all of these, like ice cream and then butter?
Oh, yes. Yes. I love it.
And sugar all together, showing how they melt.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I like.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So these are the pictures from the aqueduct, but I'll show you like the region. Couple picture of the region that